Hi everybody, Leslie here. I wanted to do a video about Airtable, which is basically a database. Now don't be scared if you're not technical. I am a bit techie, but this is a really powerful tool, and if you're like me and you've been crafting for ages, you've probably got far more supplies, whether it's stamp sets, dies, hot foil plates, embossing folders, whatever it is that you use a lot of, you've probably got far more than you can actually remember. So last year, in the cold winter months, I started a way to be able to search through them without having to search through every single box I've got. So I wanted to show you this. I'm not going to show you how to set a table up. I'm going to link down below to the video I used when I first set it up, and that's from a crafter whose crafting name's Understand Blue. It's a really good video on how to set Airtable up as a crafter. I'm showing you some pictures at the moment of my dozens of boxes on my shelves that have got all my stamps and my stencils and my dies. And as you can imagine, searching through all of that when you want one single sentiment that goes with something that you've just made is a nightmare. I use pockets to put everything in, and I've got them split by size and category on my shelves. So I can narrow it down if I know roughly what size it is, but it's still a lot to go through. And this process would have been easier for me if I'd set it up years ago and then obviously just been adding. Now I make sure as soon as a stamp set or something comes in, it doesn't go onto my shelf until it's in Airtable. So if you're new to crafting but you think you might start getting a bit more product, then it's good to set it up so that you don't have hundreds of things. So let's get on with it. I'll show you Airtable and how I use it and why I think it's so helpful if you've got a lot of craft supplies. This is Airtable. This is what it looks like once you've set it up and added some things into it. So I've got a few different bases. This one is what I call my craft supplies. You can have as many bases as you want. By the way, this is all free as long as you don't hit the free limits. You can have as many bases as you want. So these are called bases. So this is my craft supplies, which I'm going to mainly be showing you. I've got one for inks, pens and sprays. And this is really to stop me buying doubles of ink pads when I go to craft fairs. I'll show you that towards the end. I have a separate one for gorgeous stamps and Lily of the Valley stamps because I have a lot of those. So I separated them out and they're all in their own boxes. So I know if I want a gorgeous stamp to go and search for it in the gorgeous box, but it helps if I want to know the name of a stamp and things like that. And I have a separate base that's just for things that are only for Christmas. There is some overlap, so some of the things that are in the Christmas craft supplies are in my normal craft supplies base as well, but mainly this is things that are, you wouldn't use it for anything other than Christmas, and in that case I have those in separate boxes in my storage as well. So again, that's a separate base, and the reason I had to do this and have things like the Gorgeous and the Lily in the Valley and the Christmas craft supplies separate from my main base is because I was reaching the plan limits on my main one. So up here it says reaching plan limits. So to use the free version of the software, you can have 1,200 of these lines. So that's 1,200 individual items added in. And that's across everything you've got in your different sections. So this is my stamps tab. And again, that video from Understand Blue will show you how to set this up from scratch. And I just followed along and did it with that video. So this is the stamps tab. And the reason I'm reaching my limits is mainly due to this. Remember, this doesn't have my gorgeous Lily of the Valley and Christmas ones in it. And I've got 627 stamp sets. Now, that's terrible, I know, but I can't part with any of them. And I've been collecting them for probably more than 20 years. So this is something I've been doing since I was in my 20s. I'm in my 40s and I can't part with things. Yes, I'm a bit of a hoarder, but at least now it's an organised hoard. So there's 627 stamp sets in here. And yes, I sat and typed in every single one of these over winter. Then I have dies. And this is a different view that you're seeing. I'll explain that a bit more about that. So if I go back to my grid view, you'll see the same view here. I don't have quite so many dies, though this doesn't include ones that are just outline stamps. I've got 295 outline dies. Then I've got stencils. Let me go back to the grid view. Again, I've only got 90 stencils, but you can understand now why I'm reaching my plan limits of 1,200 items. And I have embossing folders. So I've only got 84 embossing folders. Now, some of these are tiny strip embossing folders, and the same goes with the stamps. Some of them are tiny A7, which is the small UK size stamps, and they're tiny sets. So it's not that bad, really. I've only just started with hot foil plates, so I've only got 19 hot foil plates. And I've only got one punch listed, and it's because it coordinates with the stamp set. I have got a drawer full of punches that aren't in here. I might get rid of this tab because I don't really need to know. I know that I've got a punch that goes with my Foxy Friends stamp set. So let me go back to the stamps and I'll show you what I have and, like I say, why it's such a powerful tool in my mind. So for every stamp set, I put in the name of the stamp set, a photo. So the last one I put in, I've not put the photo in yet, and I will show you the photo that I'm going to add and how I add them with that one in a second. This is a tick box, and this is whether it's got an outline die or not. Sorry, I should have my PC muted. So for example, this box is ticked, which means that this stamp set, Little Birdies, which was a magazine stamp set, came with a die that cuts around the stamp set. So it's an outline die. So this is just a checkbox. And again, Understand Blue shows you how to set up all these different things. So I have the name, a photo, and whether it's got an outline. Then I put in the manufacturer. So if it came with a magazine, I put the name of the magazine. So a lot of these will be card making magazines, and I always get Creative Stamping Magazine because I'm subscribed to it. So it's Creative Stamping Magazine. I'll click and show you. And this is a good example, actually. So the latest Creative Stamping Magazine, which is the one with all the biscuits and things, if anyone's seen it, I put in Creative Stamping Magazine, but it came with a second stamp set, which was just a Crafter's Companion stamp. So I put Crafter's Companion in as well as Creative Stamping Magazine. And you can put as many things as you want in there. And once you've typed it in once, it will it'll pop up, so you don't have to keep typing the whole word. You can just pick it. Then, really important for me, I have in the next column, so this one's manufacturer, the next column is the size. And the reason size is really important to me is because I store my stamps by size. So if it's A4, I know to go and look in my A4 size. If it's wood mounted, I know that I'm looking for a wood mounted stamp, so I still have a few of those. A5, A6, and I have A7 as well, which are the little tiny ones. So that helps me know exactly which boxes to at least start looking in. And then this one, this is the sentiment, and this to me is my most powerful section to search. So I'll show you an example why, but I've been through every single stamp set, all 627 of them, and typed in every sentiment that's in them. And this is searchable. So for example, the latest copy of Creative Stamping had all these sentiments in it. And I would never remember all of those sentiments. So a cup of tea makes everything better, relax, you're tea-rific, get well soon, take life one cup at a time, enjoy your retirement, and so on. Even so, it's a really generic set, and a lot of the Creative Stamping and other stamp magazines, it's not just focused on get well soon stamps, or it's not just thank you stamps. So it's really hard to find those sentiments. You know you've got them, but remembering, if you've got 100 copies of creative stamping and they're all A4 stamp plates, remembering where they might be is really tricky. So for example, if I wanted the get well soon, I can type in get well soon and it will show me everything. I'm going to show you. So the other day I wanted a Father's Day stamp because it's Father's Day on Sunday. So what I do is up here where it says drop down box, you can filter by this field. So this is why it's such a powerful tool. And if I type father in there, I've got options now. So I can search for anything that says Happy Father's Day, just Father's Day, just father, father-in-law, I've got a father-in-law, grandfather if my kids were making a card and wanted to find one that said grandfather. So now I've gone from 600 and however many stamps it was down to 10 stamp sets that have the word father in it. If I wanted to, I could also add another one, has any of dad. Oh, look. So I've got daughters, so I've got one somewhere in there. I've got one that says Daddy's little girl, and it's found granddad as well as grandfather this time. I've only got 4 stamps that have got the word dad in, so I'll get rid of that one. So again, so if I wanted father, so I wanted Happy Father's Day, I've only got 10 stamp sets that feature the word father at all. And then I can go and have a look, and this is the one I used in the end. I'd forgotten completely about this stamp set that had Father's Day in it. This is from 2017, so 5 years ago. So this has the Father's Day and the happy separately, so you can do it as happy birthday. And I just used that on the inside of my card because I wanted something different from the outside of the card, which was a new set that I'd got. I knew I was using this one because I'd not filed this one yet, because I knew this one had Father's Day in it. So, but I wanted something different for the inside than the outside. So from 600 and odd stamp set, I could go find this one. And it was in the A5 section. And just to move along a little bit. So I knew to go and look in my A5 boxes. And I have tabs inside those boxes. You'll have seen on the photos, I have, they're just laminated sheets of card that I've stuck the label on with my label maker, and I knew then that it's filed under adult focal images, so I could find the right tab, and then I only had to search through the section in my A5 that had adult focal images, and I'd already seen a picture of the stamp set that I was looking for, so it was really quick to go and find that. So if I unfilter that again, that to me is why this is such a powerful thing to set up if you have got, or you think you're likely to get, lots of sentiments. Another good example is, I love the Stamps by Me stamp sets, and Stamps by Me have some fantastic sentiments in them. So if I wanted to find, and I know that I've got various different ones, and quite a lot of them are inspirational ones, which my daughters are teenagers going through GCSEs, A-levels. I could just filter by manufacturer, and if I type stamps, obviously a lot of them have stamps in, but Stamps by Me there, I just need to click that, and I've got 10 Stamps by Me sets, and I can then have a look in here, and there you go, there's a well done, there's this is your day, there's all sorts of things, and if you click on these you can always expand it out to see what they all are. There we go, there's a good one. We are really proud of you, always remember that. But I then know I want to go and look for Never Change, and I can look at the picture of it. I'll just show you the rest of, turn my filter off. You just hit the bin button, it doesn't get rid of anything, it just gets rid of the filter. So like I said, I've typed in every single sentiment on every single stamp set I own, and I've typed in images as well. So just so you realise that the blank ones are ones on the sentiment, are ones that don't have any sentiments in them, they only have pictures. I've also typed in what images are in, with a few exceptions. I still haven't done all of my A4 stamps and typed in the images. I've typed in all the sentiments, which is what I started doing. And then I decided, after I'd done all my creative stamping and A4 sized stamps, that I was going to go back and type in the images as well. So for example, if I wanted a unicorn, I can now filter by that and put in unicorn. Oh, I've got a unicycle somewhere in there. I couldn't have told you I had a stamp set with a unicorn in it, with a unicycle in it. So here we go. So I've got you are a unicorn, which has got an outline die. It's a really cute one. I've used this one a few times for my daughters. So that's the unicorn stamp set. And this is a fabulous one that's a visible image one that I've used loads of times. So I've only got 5 stamp sets with unicorns on, although I think I've got a couple in creative stamping from years ago that have as well. But it gives you a really good idea of which stamp sets. So this obviously only works once you've got them all in there. If you've got less than me, it won't take you as long. But I thought I'd go back, and I will go back through. It's mainly creative stamping that is missing from the images. But of course, occasionally I've got a stamp set that only is words. So like wiry words is obviously only words. That's not missing. It's just there aren't any images in there. So obviously this section is my sentiments. And if it's only got a sentiment in it, it won't have any pictures in here. So my other things that I can search by is I've got themes. So if it's only sentiments and it's not specific to an occasion, it just says sentiment. I've got all sorts of things in here. So this one's got cute and kids, masculine, and if I show you the sort of things I've got nautical, beach, pattern, geometric, floral, sentiment, royal. There's been lots of stamp sets over the last few years with a royal theme. Background stamps, feminine, so things like, you know, fashion and things would come under feminine. Scene, so when it's got, I don't know, like a countryside scene, things like that. Flourishes, so it's just that, you know, swirls and things like that. Animals, Easter, pun, because there's a lot of quite good punny stamps about. Plants and leaves, so that's things that haven't necessarily got flowers on, but have got, you know, I don't know, succulents or cacti, things like that. Butterfly, thousands of butterflies, I'm sure. Snow, sea, which could have come under nautical or beach, but they're slightly different. I've got a few with gnomes, fantasy, mermaid. Now, sometimes I'll put multiple things in. So, for example, gnome and mermaid have probably all got fantasy as well. So if I was searching for fairies, mermaids, to do some girly cards, I could just type in fantasy and they'll all come up. What else have I got? I've got fish, feather, tree, craft, drinks. So that would have teas and coffees as well as alcoholic drinks stamps. Calendar, planner stamps, inspirational ones, Christmas. So I've still got some Christmas ones because there is crossover on the Christmas stamps with things that you could use for everyday things. Winter silhouette stamps, which is good if you're trying to find solid stamps, so which is why I've got silhouette in there. Nativity, again, a bit Christmassy. Numbers, fruit, sport, summer, scrapbook, travel, vehicle, vintage, autumn, Halloween, food, music, wedding, baby, house, fairy, alphabet, unicorn, frames, steampunk, anniversary, bees, art deco. So it goes on. You can see I've done lots of different themes. So if I'm trying to look for something specific, if I'm not sure exactly what image I want, but I've got a rough idea, I can try and type a few things in the themes. So New Year or Gothic style or coffee, because I've got quite a few coffee stamps. So I can try and type something in this theme section, which is a bit more generic than, you know, individual stamps, so that I can have a look in that section. And then, as I said, this next column is filed under, which to me is really important because that was the whole point of me doing this, so I could find a sentiment or a specific image in my own storage system. So this will vary on how you store your stamps, and what categories you have things set up in. And then if I've got a lot of a manufacturer, so there's an alter new section on here, and I didn't want to separate alter new out or stamps by me or anything like that, even though they've got their own boxes, because the sentiments wouldn't have been in this space. And the reason I took the Gorgeous and the Lily of the Valley out was to give me more space, because I'm reaching my 1,200 limit on the free version of the software. So I didn't want to take these out because I'd have lost the sentiments, but there's hardly any sentiments on the Gorgeous and there's none on the Lily of the Valley stamps that I've got. So it made sense to me to separate those out to give myself some more space. So that's the most important for me to be able to find it. This one I've put links to like occasionally magazines, or so links to where you can buy it occasionally, because sometimes I like to do a blog post and link it if it's available to buy, or it's a link to ideas. So I've got different links in for different reasons. You might not be interested in that column. This is the when it's come with a magazine set, I put the magazine number in. Oh, here we go. So here's all my creative stamping ones probably. Yeah, this is creative stamping section. So you can see I've got creative stampings going all the way back to, I think it's magazine number 20. I haven't got any of the really early ones, I don't think. But it gives you an idea of which magazine. So I do keep all my magazines. They're not all with my stamps. So if I'm searching, I can go and search for which magazine number it was as well. And then the next column here, this is when there's a die set. So I'm going to use this was an example. So this is Man of the Moment, which is the one I just showed you that's got that Father's Day stamping. And it came with some dies. So I've got this also in my die section. So if I click on that, it opens it. It shows me it came with Papercraft Essentials. It shows me that it's got icons in it, which means it's got little images in it. And it's got dies for glasses, a tie, a collar, and I don't know where rainbows come from. I think that's me mistyping. Let's get rid of that. So yeah, it's got glasses, a tie, a collar. Oh, I know, it's meant to be a bow tie, as in a bow, and I accidentally hit rainbow instead of bow. So there you go. Occasionally I find a mistake, but this is what I mean. So if you type bow, rainbow comes up. So I've just hit the wrong one. But you don't need to type in the full word every time you add something once you've got things in there. I've got it that it's a masculine theme. I've got that it's filed with its own matching stamps. So that means that they're in the same pocket together. I don't need to go searching for a separate die set if I want the glasses, for example, that are in there. So it links it to the dies. And then occasionally you'll get something that came with a stencil set. So this stencil came with a stamp set, and it matches. The stencil means you can colour in a jar stamp that came with it. Again, this was a magazine one. This was Simply Cards and Papercraft. So, and it shows you the stamp set as well. So this was the stamp set that came with that stencil. So you can link things together. The same for embossing folders. So that Tranquil Tulips set, the stamps came with an embossing folder as well. So it had tulips on it, as well as the sentiment stamps and the tulip die. So you can link things together, and if they're not stored together, you can find where you've got them across your storage. Occasionally there's free downloads on Craft World, for example. So I'll link things that have got a digital download associated with them. I sometimes forget to do this bit, to be honest. but Craft World quite often has images of examples with them. So sometimes, if I remember, I put that in as well. Depending on how you personally set it up, it is a really powerful tool. And I just want to show you. So this one, My Cup of Tea, the way you add the photos to it, because I think that's really useful to see, is if it's something like a magazine or, you know, the manufacturer, I just do a really quick web search. So in the photo, when you hit the plus button, this window comes up and there's a little web search box. And I put in creative stamping, and did I say it was 122? Yeah, this is issue 122, which I think's the most current one. And usually you can find a picture of the magazine, and usually I say that, and of course there isn't one now I've said it, there's a picture related to the stamps. But I usually do upload the magazine cover, and I'll show you the other way to do it. You can, obviously, if I put in creative stamping magazine 122 and then do an image search, it will usually find you other images. So for example, there, like that one, that's on Craft Stash, and that's the Frida Kahlo one that came with creative stamping. Creative stamping. Could be they've sold out, which is why I can't find the image. No, there it is. So usually there it is. They usually have a photo of the stamp plate. So if I right click on that, I can do save image as, and just stick it on my desktop for now. And then, so there you go, it's there. And the same goes for this, which also came with it. Do save image as. So these images quite often come up in a search. I don't know why they've not today. So now I can go here, select files to upload, and it's that one and that one, and it will do them both at the same time. So if you can't find an image, you can just upload them. So it's pretty easy usually to find images online. I got a load of stamps, these question marks, these are ones that I got off a huge ton of stamps that I got off a lady on Facebook Marketplace locally, and she was selling off tons and tons of stamps, and these ones she didn't have original packaging on, and I couldn't work out where they'd come from. I knew some were magazine stamps, so I don't know who these ones were made by, which is why there's some question marks. And I will show you, I've had it on grid view so you can see all the sections, but quite often if I'm just looking for inspiration, I'll do this, which is gallery view. So these are really easy to set up. You can create different views, but the only ones I've ever used are grid view and gallery view. Puts them in, unless you tell it to sort them, it puts them in the order that you've added them. So I know all my newer stamps are down the bottom here. And so, for example, these ones that have got a question mark next to them, I've just taken my own photos. So this is, you know, one I don't know where it's from. And I've just taken photos when I couldn't find an image online. And you can see, you can choose what this little box shows. So in customized cards, see, these are all of my sections. I choose to obviously show the photo, the image, and I show the size. Again, that's so that I can go and find it and what it's filed under. So that's so that if I'm just scrolling through and see a picture, but if you wanted to, and I put whether it's got an outline die as well on this particular, but you can choose, you know, if you wanted to show the sentiments in this view, you can click it and you can see they've all just appeared in here. I don't do that, but it's there if you want to. So that's in the customized cards. And if you are setting this up, make sure you've got this one on fit rather than crop so that you can see the whole picture. So these are the big A4 ones, and if you don't do fit, it shows you the small version of it, but you can see the whole A4 stamp plates. So yeah, so that's how you can search. You can search by an image, you can search by a sentiment. I'll just show you. So for stencils, a lot of stencils don't have really obvious names. So I find this really useful, especially for things like background stencils. So, oh, there's a wood grain one. I've got some stars, or I've got quite a few that have got things like hexagons on. And then, so it's less useful if it's an obvious, you know, that's a poppy and okay, there's a bit of a swirl on there. But it's really good that you can scroll through just the pictures. I forget what stencils I've got, and having a nice visual like this is really handy. And these ones, these are the really cheap ones that come from the range. I knew I'd get there. So these ones they're thinner, they're black one stencils, but they come in like a pack of 5 and they're usually £1 or £2. If you've got multiples that come in one set, you can put multiple pictures in. So that's what this is, scrolling through. But yeah, it's a great way to view things like stencils so you can see what you've got. I don't have as many categories on stencils because I have got sentiment, but it's very rare that you'll have a sentiment on a stencil. There's occasions, there's 1 or 2 that I've got an alphabet or an ampersand. So occasionally there will be one on a stencil, but I don't have as many columns here. So I've got a name, a photo, a manufacturer where I know it, sentiment, and then the type, whether it's a background or an image or a basic shape, or sometimes the colouring stencils. So the Crafter's Companion gnomes, you can colour their shirts, but you wouldn't use it for a lot else. And then themes, so there's not as many themes, so pattern, butterfly, that borders, and so of course there's a lot of patterns in things like stencils. The same for embossing folders. So if I go into my gallery view, again, a lot of them are things like backgrounds, especially the ones that have come with creative stamping. So, you know, I've got fabulous waves backgrounds. So if I was doing mermaids, I could use, you know, this. It's not related in any way to mermaids, but I can scroll through and find, you know, great background embossing folders as well. And again, hot foil, I don't have very many of those yet. I don't think I've shown you the dies tab. This is mainly for my sentiments, so it's set up very similarly to my stamps in that I can type in a sentiment if there's a standalone image, because obviously some of them are just might have a sentiment and say an outline die in them. Again, name, photo, manufacturer, the type. So again, lots of them would be things like frames you can make, or specifically shaker ones, background dies, occasionally things to make scenes. So I don't have as many types, but I found it useful. So like the Altenew layering ones. So if I was looking for a layering flower, I could just search layering in this section rather than flower, because of course flower, it could be a flat flower, it could just be an outline. So I tried to use categories that would help me find something if I was looking for something specific. Again, sentiment, so I've got lots of sentiment dies. And occasionally you get a sentiment die that's in with something else. So like I've got, say, a watermelon one, this watermelon one here. It's got a watermelon, but it's also got the word sweet. So if I wanted a word, I wouldn't necessarily look at a watermelon and think that there was going to be a word die in there, but it does happen with quite a lot of die sets. So again, if there's a standalone image, so obviously if it's something that's just a border or a frame or a pattern, it's not really an image. This is for more things like a flower or a leaf or an anchor. So that's what I've got in that one. And then there is some crossover between the type and the theme, but I've got them separated just so I can search in different ways. And then again, I've got the same system, what it's filed under. So some things are filed under the hot foil because it matches with a hot foil plate. Sometimes it says matching stamp because that's where it is. It's in with its matching stamps. I've got large dies that only fit in one box that I've got. And then in the majority of my others are all A6. And I've got them again categorised. So I've got cover dies, I've got frames, tags and plates, border dies, I've got geometric dies, I've got nesting ones. And occasionally one of these will say board because it's up on a magnet board. So I have most of my nesting dies that I use regularly on a magnet board on the wall. But again, same thing, I can search. So if I wanted a die that says happy birthday, I can filter and type in the word happy. Oh, so I've got happy on its own. So I could do happy with a stamp, couldn't I? As well as happy birthday. So I can filter by those. And it actually turns out I've got loads that say happy. I've got 22 die sets that have got the word happy or happy birthday in. So I can then just look. So this one just says happy. If I really just wanted happy birthday, I can go back to my filter, get rid of the happy off there. I really want it to say the full happy birthday. I don't want to stamp something as well. And I can go in and see. So this one's quite a tiny one that says happy birthday. This one, this has got a really big swirly happy birthday in it. And it jogs your memory as well when you start looking at your photos of what they are. So I can't remember what this Trimcraft happy birthday looks like. Oh, I remember it now. It's a tiny one. So if you know your stuff but jogs your memory as well, I think this is worth doing if you think you're going to add to your stash. And yeah, it means you can find things and you spend less time searching through for that one stamp that you know you've got that says sunshine, rather than, you know, spending hours searching for that one stamp and then you've run out of time to craft. I should also mention that because this is web-based, you do need to be connected to the internet. Once they're added, you can have them on your mobile phone. So this is all free. I have an app run by Airtable on my mobile phone so that when I'm at a craft show, the one that I wouldn't usually have it open on is my inks, pens and sprays, which I said I'd show you. So here, I've very simply, and I want to add to this, I've very simply, so for my Distress Oxides, I've got all the names, and the only one that I'm missing, I'm actually missing two, I think, at the moment, is Lumberjack Plaid, which is one of the more recent ones, and Lost Shadow, which is the most recent one. And because I bought a load of stuff, like I said, off somebody on Facebook Marketplace, I've ended up with doubles. Anywhere I've got a double, I've put a tick box. But the idea of this is to prevent me buying doubles, which I have done, because I used to have it on a scratchy piece of paper and I'd obviously not gone back and crossed off one that I'd bought somewhere else. But it means that I can really quickly check in my app on my phone, which I've always got with me. It's not so difficult with Distress Oxide because I have most of them, but my Distress Inks, I don't have all of those. So I have all these ones. And again, this is why I've got doubles of some of them, because I got them in a big set. So I don't have Kitsch Flamingo. Oh, I added another column here because the Distress Inks, Distress Oxides don't come in a mini, but the Distress, you can have a mini or a full size. Yeah, I don't own Kitsch Flamingo in Distress Oxide. I don't own in Distress rather than Distress Oxide. I don't own Dusty Concord. So if I see a really good offer when I'm out, I can actually come in here and check that I'm not doubling up, which I try not to do, because that's just a waste of money if you don't need another one. And I've got the same thing for my Catherine Pooler, but because she splits them into sections, I've got them split into the same sections. I can go and just pick the ones I've not got rather than thinking, have I got that? I can't remember. And the same with the Alter New inks. Again, they're in sets, so I've got them in the sets, and I've only got minis in Alter New. If I ever bought any of the large ones, I would just add, like I had before, whether it's the mini or the full I've got. It means that I can search for a name. The other thing I've not shown you, so I know that there's one called Pine something. So if I just search, there you go. I know one of the greens is Mountain Pine, so there it is. So I know that I've got Green Valley. It's in the Green Valley set, and it's called Mountain Pine. If there's sets that have got green in the title, so there's Green Meadows, there's a Just Green, there's a Hunter Green, there's also Green Fields and Green Valley. So it finds everything that's got in their sets of 4. So this search here is just to search for that word, and you can do that on any of them. Just before I leave this base, I've put a colour column in on all of these, and I would quite like, where I've put the colour, to actually find a digital image of the colours. Sometimes the colour isn't obvious from the name. Yeah, I could use an example in the distress range. What colour is Shabby Shutters? Shabby Shutters could be any colour. It depends what colour you painted them. I do know it's a greeny colour, but it doesn't always tell you the colour if you don't know it already. So that's why I was wanting to put the colours in here. Just to go back to my main base, I was just going to show you, so this little search here, so for example, if I wanted a unicorn image or the word unicorn, just an example, it's found 21 records that have got the word unicorn in. Now, I imagine most of those have got an image of a unicorn. Some of them might have the word, but I can search through now and find every occurrence. So yeah, this one must have the word unicorn, so you can search through. So it must be in here somewhere. Yeah, it's got the word unicorn. So if I wanted the word unicorn and an image of a unicorn, there's 21 fields. So some of them will be in the name, some of them will be in the sentiment, some of them will be in the images. And you can just keep searching through. Oh, it's even in the web address that I've got in. So you can keep searching through, and then it's linked to its own die set. So a few of them are in that one. So yeah, so Believe in Unicorns is there. And you can just keep searching through for different times that the word unicorn is in there. And so again, I could have done that for father. There's only 10 that have the word father somewhere in them. So again, you can search in different ways. You don't just need to use the filter. And if you decide that you don't want to, use a field that you've put in, you can go in. So I rarely now I don't use the link very often. I don't want to show that. I don't use the digital downloads and the Craft World Facebook link. So if there's something that you don't want to show, and the punches is useless because there's only one of those in there and I know what it is. So if you don't want to show all the fields, you can hide them so it's not as cumbersome and there's not less of them. So it really is a powerful tool, and I had a little bit of an idea how to set up something like a table in Excel, but there's no way that I could have set anything like this up, and the way it links through to your other records, like I say, it really is powerful, and it's not that difficult to learn even if you're not technical. Like I say, just work through the Understand Blue video. I just followed along with how to set up the different types of fields and I think names compulsory, obviously you need to name it, but how you change these and add them in to be the different types of things. So how you add a checkbox and how you add a photo and how you add, these are multi-select, I think it's called. Have a think about how you store things and what categories you use and what things are useful to you. And then you can once you've got used to it, it becomes quite intuitive. I love it, and I actually do spend a lot more time crafting and less time searching. So yeah, hope that was useful. Hope somebody, finds it useful and might get as much use out of it as I have. And thanks for watching. If you like this, go on, subscribe. I'm trying to post videos a bit more regularly, and hopefully, you'll like some of my content. I do more card making than technical ones usually. Thanks for watching. Bye.